if you happen to be on vacation and your pipe bursts and you're away from home, you need to make sure you have someone house sitting or checking your mail or coming in. Because if you leave your house unattended for more than 11 days and or less in some cases, and you have a flood and the neighbor calls you when you're out and you come to find out water is coming out your front door, you're not going to have insurance coverage unless you can show that your house was being babysat, if you will, because they would expect you to shut the water off to your house if you're going to be gone for any period of time. How many people do you know think of shutting the water off before they leave their house?
Welcome to B2B Synergy, the Power Partners USA podcast, your exclusive guide to discovering the potential of B2B partnerships. I'm Alan Armijo, owner of Power Partners USA, business-to-business introduction and referral service. Our members are B2B professionals who team up to provide each other repeat referral, business, or collaboration. Today's episode shines the light on Vince Attardo, owner of Coastline Environmental Solutions and A1 Best Plumbing, and a new Power Partner USA member. Vince, you and I have known each other a long time, and we're playing background after all this time to collaborate on business. How are you doing?
Oh, good morning, Alan. I'm doing very well. Thanks for asking.
Good. Can you explain what's the latest with your services at Coastline Environmental Solution and A1 Best Plumbing? What do those services provide?
In a nutshell, Coastline Environmental Solution is our corporate name, and our DBA, doing business as, is A1 Best Plumbing and Restoration. The key word or emphasis would be restoration. We're a full service general contractor, which would be plumbing, electrical, and framing. However, plumbing by itself, legally, you cannot perform unless you have a C36 plumber's license, which we've acquired. We've been doing plumbing for over 13 years, but we're legally now under the umbrella of Coastline. And so now Coastline and A1 both share the same general contractor C36 license together. So we are one company with a division that does plumbing. We also have fire, smoke, water, sewage, which would be your emergency services, which plumbing's also under. And then there's a reconstruction, rebuild, remodeling portion of the company. As a general contractor, whatever we start, we finish. So we're a full service start to finish job company.
So I've known you all these years as a restoration company. When somebody has a fire or a disaster in their home, you come in and then you started plumbing. Are you finding that people are calling you for either or both?
Majority of our calls currently is plumbing, but more so for a client service benefit. We want to offer more service to our customer. And what we're doing is we're helping the client navigate through the insurance, which is where we started, which is insurance restoration, disaster restoration. So any kind of peril someone has homeowners insurance for or not, we handle the start of the job from a fire and smoke to a mold concern to a full-fledged water damage that destroyed the house and it has to be rebuilt from the foundation up. We can handle any part of that disaster, but most of the time, plumbing is the source, or moisture is the source of most damage to most homes, more so than both fire or smoke. And people don't understand the ins and outs of dealing with insurance. And that's why we got into plumbing. So now we come out as the first responder before the client puts their foot in their mouth and says the wrong things to the insurance, because when they do, then they don't have insurance. So insurance has been trained to ask certain questions with the recording happening, and they pigeonhole people into certain things and they say things they shouldn't. And so we try to educate people. Call us before you call your insurance company and let us come out and assist you, do the observation, figure out what the real problem is, get rid of any mold that may be there, because mold's not covered. And they usually say, I got a mold issue, because they're trained to ask these questions. And mold is really anybody's friend when it comes to insurance, because it's only limited to usually $5,000 worth of coverage. Whereas with water, there is no limitation on the coverage for the most part, or at least nothing close to 5,000. It's more like 30, 50, $100,000 in coverage. But mold is a consequence of water. And if mold is there because of water and it's covered water loss, mold gets covered as part of the claim. But if it's from negligence or wear and tear, those are not covered. Only thing covered through insurance typically would be sudden and accidental. So if the cause of loss was sudden and or accidental, it's covered. Anything that's not sudden or accidental is not covered.
So sudden or accidental would be like what?
A sudden burst of a pipe breaking is very sudden. A pipe leaking and dripping over time and being neglected is not sudden. It's negligence, and negligence in this case isn't covered, but negligence due to an accident such as you left the water running and went off to church and forgot the water was running. Some might think that's stupidity, but that's negligence, and that is covered because that is an accident. You didn't plan on making your house get flooded by leaving the water on. That was a real accident, and it was obviously sudden, and it happened, and there was a low water loss. But usually water damage that's considered sudden is something that happened just now, like the pipe burst. If you happen to be on vacation and your pipe bursts and you're away from home, you need to make sure you have someone house sitting or checking your mail or coming in, because if you leave your house unattended for more than 11 days and or less in some cases, and you have a flood and the neighbor calls you when you're out and you come to find out water is coming out your front door, you're not going to have insurance coverage unless you can show that your house was being babysat, if you will, because they would expect you to shut the water off to your house if you're going to be gone for any period of time. How many people do you know think of shutting the water off before they leave their house?
Correct.
Not too many.
I always have that worry, but you're the first professional that's told me about these insurance rules. And, I want to educate people about that. Or should they call you, they have a problem no matter what, before they call the insurance company?
Obviously, from a vibe standpoint, I would highly recommend to their advantage to call me, emergency service professional, before they call their agent, for example, who would really just in turn connect them to a 24-hour call center. So yes, by all means, call us first. We'll teach them that less is more. So the less you say is better, and it's more beneficial to you. The answer, I don't know, is not a bad answer. People think, well, they need to say something. It's better to say nothing. And I don't know, let the professionals handle it, which is where the emergency service contract would come in. And as a courtesy only, we would bill directly to the insurance for the insured, and we would do all the communication with them and document everything, because they need documentation. In fact, documentation is going to be embedded in any conversation I have with a client, because insurance doesn't pay unless you can document, and insurance wants to pay what's fair and reasonable. And respectfully, that's what they do. We go a step further and we say, we would like to be paid what's fair and accurate, because fair and reasonable is questionable. Well, fair and reasonable to who? To the customer who's paying the insurance for 30 years, or the insurance company who's been collecting that money each and every month. And then when it comes time to pay out the claim, as you've heard on the radio and you've seen TV ads with attorneys saying, someone was offered $40,000 when they should have gotten, $300,000, it's really, that's real. The adjuster's job is to adjust, and they'll go out and spend a brief period of time. They just don't spend an adequate amount of time. They just come up with a price, submit it to the homeowner, and they think that's a great amount of money, $20,000, when they needed $30,000 to fix their kitchen properly. So you have someone on your team assist you in your insurance claim or navigating the loss. And you may end up working with 3, sometimes up to 4 adjusters on a single claim. And you've tried to establish rapport with one person in the company. Then you end up having to deal with another person and start all over. And it can get very frustrating, very aggravating for people. And most people don't have the longevity to want to keep up the fight. They want to give up. And most insurance understand that. If you can just put it off long enough, the person gets tired and they end up just settling and or just giving up altogether. And that's why insurance companies take so long to get back to you and to follow up and follow through as they should. So you want to call and make a claim, and then pass the call over to us and let us be the representative or voice box. And when someone signs up with us with a work authorization, they're stating that we can be added on almost as if we were an additional insured. We become part of that claim, and we can speak on behalf of the homeowner and represent them properly, which is really critical.
What is your client makeup? Who are you typically working for?
The majority of the work we do is residential. We do both high-end residential, and we do multifamily housing, which would be in the way of, we're dealing with property managers, HOAs, governmental type housing. That's the bulk of what we do. However, on the extreme opposite, we deal with commercial work. So we have large clients like Union Pacific Railroad or Chase Bank, F&M Bank, McDonald's, Office Depot. So we deal the entire extreme And that's in residential, commercial plumbing, and in water damage. So we're not limited to just residential. We can handle any size commercial job, but the bulk of what we do is high-end residential.
Okay. So what do you mean by high-end residential?
Well, meaning someone that has their own home, single-family homeowner, college-educated couple with children. That would be our normal makeup of the actual person that would call us most often is a homeowner. There's a fair share of calls that come in from property managers and realtors. A lot of realtors call us. I get a lot of referrals from home inspectors as well, that they inspect the home and find damage.
When people call you, are they usually in a panic? Is it an emergency?
Absolutely. Most people are not calm, cool, and collected, which is what we try to encourage them to know that they made the right decision by calling us. We get them to relax, let them know that it's not the end of the world. We do this all day long, and we're going to get what the policy states to have happen: secure, preserve, protect. Once we're in that mode and they can know that they're in good hands, we're going to get it clean, get it dry, and then we can talk about, whether they're going to get a new kitchen or not. A lot of people think the insurance is going to pay for everything just because their kitchen lower cabinets got destroyed. Oftentimes, especially with mold now, you have to get behind the furniture, which is mounted to the wall, which means you have to remove the wall. And we can get rid of the wall that has water to get rid of the kitchen cabinets. Well, we have ways of saving the countertops, which could be granite, marble, whatever, and save the lower kitchen cabinets by cutting out the inside of the cabinets to get to the wall and shoring up the countertop and leaving everything in place. People love that. Insurance, especially, because we're saving them thousands and thousands of dollars. On the other hand, someone might have an older beat up kitchen. They want a new kitchen remodel. We can remove the blowers. And once we remove the lowers, then how are you going to match them with the uppers? Which now means they have a kitchen remodel coming their way on the cost of the insurance. They love that. That's just good timing. But other people don't want to be displaced from their home. They don't want to have to go through the nightmare of having people in their home. It takes at least 4 to 5 days to dry something that's wet. It takes another week or two to put back the walls, depending on what they want to do. Some people want to remodel it or upgrade from what they had, and that's fine. But insurance is going to pay to put it back to pre-loss condition. That's what they're limited to. Anything above what was there before is on their own dime. And that's where they need to negotiate that with the insurance company or the contractor like myself. We have great systems in place to manage the actual square footage of the home, dimensions, diagrams, all through technology that's out there now that'll go in and scan a room and give you a 2 and 3D dimension. It'll give you the exact square footage, what's in the room, and then you document what's being removed, inventorying it. Like if someone has a smoke problem or a mold problem, you can't replace the floors without moving all their contents. So removing contents is a whole nother division of the company that we handle. We have an 8,500 foot warehouse here at our location. So we can basically inventory, pack, and store, transport, and then store, and then clean if necessary, and then hold them for a period of time, such as a fire loss could take months before they get their stuff back in their home. But it's all nice, safe, and sound. Insurance would just assume have you put it in the garage, and then you don't get any compensation for losing your garage, and they're not where the stuff should be. It's not safe. You don't have access to it like you would. And it might be also accessible for others, such as people who have pods in front of the house, and people break into those and they take people's belongings. You really need it in a secure, sound environment, dry environment, protected environment.
What would you say your areas of specialization, or what differentiates you from other restoration or plumbing companies? Is it this knowledge of insurance, or what else would it be?
Well, 39 years, almost 40 years in the business certainly gives us an advantage. Unique selling proposition or unique selling point would be that we have something a little bit different. We call it a unique experience proposition. So we want to offer someone a different experience when they have a restoration job or they need a professional like us. So what sets us apart is having multiple certifications and skill sets, including a board certified indoor environmental consultant like myself, certified in water, fire, and textile. So I'm a triple master certified through the IRCRC, which is not too many of those people around. And collectively, with that unique experience, coupled with the fact that we're an emergency responder that can deal with the plumbing issue, as well sets us apart from everybody else because it's a true full service. And as a contractor, put them back together. So they're not having to deal with 3 or 4 different people to fix their home. They can call one call. We do it all for them. And that sets us apart. And again, that documentation piece and being able to execute the job quickly and get the claim over to the insurance adjuster. We have a live answering person. You get someone here in California, when we leave for the day, we forward the phones to the answering service. They take the call and they do a warm transfer to the customer, to myself personally, no matter what day or time it is of day or night. I get the call, usually myself personally, and then I dispatch it to one of our service experts, along with an email and a text message, which is given to us through the service. So we don't drop anything through the cracks. So it makes us extremely efficient. And then we have a CRM, which is a client relationship management program. It's basically a database that's connected to a management system that takes the call and then dispatches the call and then tracks where the call is and where the service is being provided and when the next step is supposed to take place. So again, we don't let anything fall through the cracks.
Power Partners is a B2B introduction service. We introduce business professionals to each other who can provide each other repeat leads and referrals or do business collaboration. We are targeting this podcast to your Power Partners, Vince, to bring you more repeat referral business. Who are your Power Partners?
Primarily, I would say first and foremost would be individual property owners. However, specifically in the way of a power partner, B2B would be property management companies, I would say would be the most. Second line would be realtors, and then would be plumbers. We happen to be a plumbing company as well, but plumbers are really, really good referral sources to us because plumbers are like us, first responders. They're out there in the person's home and dealing with maybe something as simple as a toilet backup where water might have leaked through the base of the toilet or from the top of the toilet. There's water on the ground around the toilet and the person just figures they would just towel it up and everything's fine. But what they don't realize is the water is penetrated into the subsurface, which is the floor. Can you imagine that happening with a 5, 10, 15-story building and the flood or water source happening towards the top? It's a multi-unit, multi-structure damage, and it takes someone with the right arsenal to be able to handle that work. So you can see why an HOA is another great power partner for us, or anybody that's managing doors. So primarily property management. Insurance is also a really good lead. We do a lot of work with insurance, but more so to the end user. We are by purpose not a preferred vendor of any insurance company. That sets us uniquely apart from the pack because we represent the end user, the homeowner. We don't represent the insurance. We don't get paid by the insurance. We get paid by the homeowner who's our customer.
Okay. So with regard to Power Partners, like how do you introduce yourself to them or how do you build that relationship with the Power Partners? They know what you do and what kind of referrals do you end up giving them?
Well, for example, Charles, who does property management, from time to time, people who are asking me who own multiple units, who I know that's a good property management company. And it's very select few that I can actually feel real good about. There's a lot of property management companies out there, but not anywhere near like Charles, because Charles has the same philosophy. He's involved with multiple organizations that are constantly striving to build the professionalism of that industry. So I refer realtors work because I'm heavily into networking as a business owner. Not too many people in my business are heavily networked like that. So as a power partner, I'm interacting with lots of different people. I have a personal assistant that helps me with my marketing and with my relationship building. And I also have a customer service representative that manages all the calls that come in. So that team approach really helps with building relationships because building relationships are going deep and with follow-up and follow-through. That's what builds a good, solid foundation for a long-lasting relationship when it comes to power partners.
Right. Yeah, it is about the relationship so that, especially with these types of referrals, a referral to you that you can get the job done, a referral, like you say, to a property manager that they can get the job done. It's very important, but it leads to repeat referrals because that's what we're looking for. So I get it.
And you could also have, for example, referred out estate planners, people that have dealing with their properties have other issues, not just the property itself, managing it, but especially as people are aging out or getting older, there's elder care, there's different things. They don't know who to call. So when they have a trusted source like yourself or your organization with people like us in it, we have the ability to refer out others. And it's really great to be able to refer someone that's already in a group with you that has the same mindset. And as I mentioned earlier, that they show care and concern. That's something that's neglected by a lot of people. They're after the big buck versus the long-term value of a client, which is really thousands and thousands of dollars over the course of the relationship, not just get in and get out.
What are the words, phrases, or conditions that lead to direct referrals to you?
You're at a networking mixer, you're out with a bunch of people and someone starts talking about their home. So any kind of home improvement, anybody that deals with going in the home, such as a realtor or a property inspector, home inspector, really good source of leads for us because they're finding out all kinds of things that are wrong, a laundry list of items when they go to sell a home. So anything to do with home improvement, anything to do with emergencies, someone has an emergency or a concern with their health or their indoor air quality. So mold testing, asbestos abatement, which needs to be done, and testing needs to be done first on any kind of home improvement or building that's been damaged.
We're talking about the cost of your services.
Yes.
How do you break down costs? I'm sure there's a lot of different aspects to it, though.
Most of our fees are all published in a price guide that we have available online as well as in hand at any given time. It's a published price guide, not a price list. We call it a guide because it guides you as to how to charge, but it's not stuck in stone where you have to have a certain fee because each job differs. For example, a job done on Sunday is going to be cost different than a job done Monday through Friday between the hours of 8 and 5. So anything after hours pertains to an emergency service after hours fee. And in the insurance business, there's a service call fee. It's usually about $250. That's a fee just to drop what you're doing and go take care of the emergency loss. But everything's unit pricing for the most part, unless it's a large commercial loss, then it would be more time and materials. And our set fees are currently like $97 an hour per man in the emergency services realm, whereas with plumbing, it's more like $250 an hour. Commercial could be $350 to $450 an hour. Our minimum to go out and do any kind of plumbing is $250 during normal business hours. And then beyond that, it's based on what does the client need. Someone needs a water heater lit, $250 to go out and light the water heater, assess why it's not lighting. But if they need it fixed, $395 would be where the conversation starts. And then if you don't have the parts you need to fix it, there's a $150 fee to go get the parts. If someone already has the parts, they want to save money, that's great. Oftentimes it's the wrong parts. And then they end up standing there waiting for people to come back with what they need. It ends up costing them more because you're billing now by the hour for that downtime. Large commercial losses, we have a fee to go out to, let's say, 30-mile radius or within 30 minutes. If something is far away, like all of our commercial clients, like Union Pacific, for example, they want us to travel all over the place. And we go to wherever we need to go to, but we have a fee, which would be a trip charge fee. Depends on how much windshield time is involved. So they understand that, but they want our services because there's not a lot of people out there that are trustworthy or that know what they need to do or have the arsenal ready to handle the job. So once you have a relationship with a client as large as that, or big banks or big management companies that are back east, call us to handle stuff here on the West Coast. So we're not always dealing with the end user. A lot of times we're dealing with a management company or someone that manages assets for large companies like Home Depot, for example.
Okay. Yeah. So if you're working for a bank, you're not working for the bank, you're working for the management company of that bank.
Well, locally at B2B, I'm dealing directly through them. That's where I do my own banking. And I've done work at the corporate. I've done work down south dealing with upholstery and different things. So that's directly to the bank. In the case of, let's say, Union Bank, it would be most likely a third party that's managing that bank and other banks as well. And then we will be dealing with that particular entity, not the bank itself.
What would you say is the biggest problem you solve for your clients? Like it can be residential or commercial, but I know you go in and you fix the problem, the water or the damage, but what do you think is that deeper problem that you're solving for them?
without a shadow of a doubt, it would be peace of mind. We can take a lot of the stress away that people would be experiencing dealing with these uncertain times that we're in and not having any control or knowledge of how to handle. It could be a water damage, fire, simple mold job, could be a toilet overflow. We just peace of mind knowing that they got a hold of the right company that can handle a multitude of needs in-house with the same individual versus having to subcontract it out to a bunch of people.
Well, thank you for your time today, Vince. This is very enlightening. I think, in talking with you and golfing with you, I'm impressed with all you've done, but I think it's because you're highly intelligent and you're a hard worker. So that's paying off for you. Looking forward to working with you through Power Partners and other business opportunities. Okay.
And see you out on the green.
Okay. Thank you.